right now, EA Csolkovits. And EA, your website is Givers University. I'm excited to have this conversation. I'm a big fan of generosity. I think, quite frankly, those who have a generous personality type, they just naturally just seem to do much better than takers. That's my experience. I'm sure you have a point of view on this, and love to hear it. EA, thank you so much for joining us.
Josh, thank you. It's my honor to be on your show. And the first time I even saw the title of Up My Influence, I thought, man, this guy is just nailing it, because who doesn't want to do that? And one of the best ways to up your influence is to be a giver. So I knew two things about you. Number one, you were nailing it. Number two, you're a giver. So I appreciate it. And thank you for having me on your great show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much. So tell me about the basic premise, or tell me what you do at Givers University.
We teach something that genuinely is not being taught anywhere else. And I know that for sure, because I'm doing 1 to 3 interviews a day. And every time I go through the explanation, everyone goes, whoa, that is really good stuff, and we need to learn that. And here's the premise, all right? And to sort of capsulize all that for your listening audience. And I start off with 3 questions. If I was to ask your listeners, think about the times each day when you have to stomp out fires. Think about the times during the day when your stress level spikes and goes straight through the roof. Think about the conversations you have during the day where at the end of the conversation, you're not even sure what you talked about, but you do know one thing for sure: you have no more energy left. They took it all from you. All 3 of those things, Josh, have one thing in common. That one thing in common is they have a name attached to them. And so what we teach people is really simple. We teach, first of all, I say to your listeners, we love everybody. I say that emphatically. We love everybody. And we teach people to discern and to separate the person who we love from their deeds, which we may not love. And by observing their deeds, and we've sifted down over literally 40 years, we have sifted down and filtered to not broad, innocuous swaths of information and references where someone goes, wow, that sounds good, but now what do I do with it? But we've actually sifted it down to the deeds, Josh. In other words, these are the things people will do. Watch the things they're doing, and from that begin to discern the following. Should I bring them closer into my life? Because that's what we want to do with givers, because givers bring with them the 3 W's of a giver, which is wisdom, wealth, and wellness. Or because of what I'm observing with them, what I'm discerning with them, with their deeds, the things they're doing, should I begin respectfully distancing myself, not nasty or rude or insensitive, but respectfully begin to distance myself, because takers bring with them the 3 D's of a taker, which is defeatism, disruption, and destruction. And if I pull them in closer, they're going to make me unwilling collateral damage, and I'm going to be stomping out fires that are not of my making. So what happens with my productivity? It goes down because I'm investing time now stomping out fires. What happens to my stress? It goes up instead of me being in a low stress environment. And my energy is going down and being drained because I'm not surrounded with the right kind of people. So a couple of days ago, I was talking with a gentleman in an interview, and he said, this is really great stuff. And I read a book and it said, I need to be surrounded with 5 good people. And I said, you're absolutely right. Which 5? And he looked at me with this blank look. We were on video. I could see the blank look on his face. I said, do you get my point? I said, so I know, Josh, you're a self-improvement guy. Yeah. I'm a self-improvement geek. I'm sure many of your listeners are. So that's a great thing. I'm for that. We love it. But no one's teaching us, how about the other guy? What if he's doing it wrong? What should I do about that? All right. So no one's teaching us to what we call discern. So we say in Givers University, givers earn 3 times more because givers discern 3 times more. We teach people something not being taught, how to discern in advance with your relationships so that you can bring the right people into your, what we call your own giver community that each person should build, of the right kind of people around them, because not everyone's the right kind of person. So from that, we teach, and that is what we teach with our online courses. We teach people how to do that specifically. And I have to share with you that it's such a blessing, because I can tell it's hitting a chord with people, because everyone says, I'm just constantly in these stressful situations, and they don't realize no one's taught them how to discern what to look for. Years ago, I was very fortunate. I became a commercial pilot to fly my own planes. And one of the things that the instructor taught me when we sat in the plane for the first time, he said, look out the window. And he said, when you look at other aircraft, you do not want to see the aircraft in the window be 1 inch in length and 2 minutes later be 4 inches in length. He said, that's not good. He said, the reason why is it's coming at you. You're getting closer, and it might be 600 knot closure, right? He said, you want that plane in the window to be 4 inches, and then as you're looking at it, it gets down to 1 inch. He said, now you're separating and you're being farther. So we teach people, Josh, look at the plane. Look in the distance at these situations. And when we say giver, we're not judging a person and labeling a person. Josh, we're labeling the deeds of that person. When we say taker, we're not labeling a person. We're not saying that person. We're saying the deeds of that person are taker deeds. So from that, we teach people to look in advance and discern in advance based on people today they don't even know what to look for, Josh. They don't know what to see. What should I be looking at, and what should I be looking for to decide if I should bring them closer or respectfully distance myself? So we teach them which genuine actual checklists. Here's the things, the deeds, the finite deeds. Watch them doing these things, and it'll help you discern, should you have them in closer or should you be respectfully distancing? So that's what we do. We teach discernment.
Yeah. I love this, because I think sometimes you could say, all right, well, I'm going to adapt this giver philosophy. And what that means is that we give, even to the point of not honoring our boundaries. And I like what I got from what you said, and I've experienced this. Like, I've been there's one event in particular that I was attending it. I'm like, I feel like I'm in the wrong room. There feels like there's a wrong energy in here. Like it's not working for me. I just feel unsettled. And it was probably costly short term for me to make a hasty exit from that. Well, I know it was. But long-term, for my spiritual, my emotional, like that was the right. I know I'm speaking so generically. I want to be careful though. But there are going to be times in our lives in business where, and I like this, it's kind of this, using your emotional guidance system, right? I think they talk about back in The Secret is like, how are you feeling? Do you feel good? We always want to show up in a generous, like, we're here to serve, right? I'm here to make a positive impact in the world. I'm here to bring value to people. I'm here to bring my highest good to them. Yet I still need to respect, because as a giver, I need to be sensitive that I can always show up in the lives of the people I'm supposed to be showing up. And if I'm in the vicinity of someone that's got a real taker energy, it's going to drain me. And so I have to protect myself and say, you know what? There's a oil and water vinegar thing here. I need to go ahead and make that separation. This isn't it, right? It's almost like I'm kind of feeling around in the dark and I'm like, okay, no, that doesn't feel like it. That's not where I'm supposed to be. I need to go find some other people that I could be of service, because that's where I am my highest good, is for maybe a little bit different relationship dynamic.
I think so. And you explained that perfectly. And one of the things I think that you have actually a very unique situation, Josh. From your excellent way that you help guests come on, and I saw that you've done well over 200 podcasts, and who knows how many you're at nowadays. But the fact of the matter is, you probably have at this point a sense of intuition and an attuned discernment that you've already learned because of the scars on your shins. The value in that discernment, and you've learned as a result of that. And most people, and share a couple things with you that my business mentor shared with me along those lines, right to your point, Josh. And that was, he said, first of all, when you're a giver, people will take advantage of you. He said, expect it. He said,
Oof.
part of being a giver. He said,
Wow.
when you're a giver, people take advantage of you. But, and he said, here's the part no one gets of the equation. You are never diminished because they did. They're diminished. He said, when you're a giver, people will take advantage of you, but you're never diminished. They are diminished. He said, so what'll happen is, and he's teaching me about these things because, you know, I'm the son of a milkman, burnt out janitor is my background. And so he's teaching me about this thing called this scale that's of life, that's services and rewards that I'm sure you're familiar with. And he said, you know, he said, you want to be constantly pushing everything on that services side of the scale because it strives to balance itself and give you those rewards back. It strives for balance. He said, so you push as hard as you can to get it out of balance. Services. So when people take advantage of you, because they're gonna, he said, remember, it always comes back from another person, from another business venture, in another situation, in another way, because those scales always strive to be in balance. He said, so being afraid of being taken advantage of in a big way stops people from being a giver. The fear stops them from being a giver. And we have determined, Josh, that about 20% of the population are givers. I mean, you put them in any situation, doesn't matter, business, family, personal, they will find a way to begin contributing to it. They'll give to it. They'll invest in it. They'll help it. They'll be the first to step up forward. They're just wired that way. By contrast, the other side of the Grand Canyon are the 20% that are takers. They will craft in a short period of time a way to take emotionally, mentally, financially, spiritually. They're just wired that way, right? Now, we have 20%, 20%. Where's the 60%? Well, they're in the middle, and we call them fencers. And the reason why is they sit on the fence. They act like givers when they're with givers. They act like takers when they're with takers. They can be great relationships, but we need to manage them. So what we want to do ideally is to surround ourselves with those who are givers that have wisdom, wealth, and wellness, because we're givers always bring that with them. And therefore, we can give that back to them. And over time, we build this community around. It's not overnight. We build this community around us. And then as a result, our productivity goes straight to the roof because now we're not putting out these fires that aren't of our making. And all these things were shared with me by my business mentor. And I can share with your listeners, Josh, one of the great things you do with Up My Influence is, whether your listeners realize it or not, you're mentoring all of them. You're bringing them great information. You're bringing them, usable content that they can apply in their life that's so critical. And for those that are listening, if I can share, Josh, a couple of just small stories about the importance of a mentor and learning these things, learning these skills, as opposed to being the person that says, I took a class one time and, I know all that stuff, and we call them sophomores, right? They've already been to school 1 year. And now because of that, they know everything. And I can share with you two things that happened to me in a very humble situation that actually led to my mentor and what he meant to me in my life. And I share this as a story to help your listeners. First, I was born in Chicago. My father was a milkman. I was raised, son of a milkman. Back then, Josh, I'm 65 years old. So back then, milk was in glass gallons. And there was a box outside everyone's house. And that was the milkman's box. And you know what was amazing, Josh? There was always money in the box and no one touched it. Everyone knew that was milkman money, right? So my father had this route, one-man show, he had his own milkman route for Twin Oaks. And I, at 5 years old, used to help him deliver milk. At 16 years old, I ventured out, my first big step, and I moved up to become successful, and I became a janitor. Now, I didn't mind that because business was always picking up. What? Anyway, so as a result of being a janitor at the ripe old age of 16, I had two extraordinary events happen in my life while being a janitor. So I share with your listeners, don't be afraid to do the lowly thing because you'll be surprised what comes out of that. The first was at 16 years old, Josh, I was able to be bonded, which means I could be insured. So if my buffer went crazy in an expensive place, insurance would cover it, right? Because of that, I was able to clean a lady's house. And I was in there every single Wednesday cleaning her house. And her name is June Martino. Now, that name wouldn't mean anything to you unless you saw, or your listeners saw, a particular movie that was out recently that's still even out on streaming today. It's called The Founder with Michael Keaton.
Yeah, great.
Okay. All right, you saw
Great
the
movie.
All right. So, it's about the McDonald's brothers and Ray Kroc, right? Michael Keaton plays Ray Kroc.
Mhm.
And I can share with you that that's very Hollywoodized and very drama. The events,
sure.
There's a lot of events there, but it's certainly Hollywoodized. Now, in the movie, Michael Keaton is talking to a lady outside his office all the time. He's saying, June this, June this, June that. That's June Martino. That's the lady whose house I cleaned every Wednesday.
Oh my gosh.
That lady.
Wow.
Right? So here I am at 16 years old, and I lived in Chicago at this time, in Oak Brook, which is where the McDonald's headquarters was, right? So in my lifetime, I witnessed the whole McDonald's phenomenon and knew June Martino to be this icon. And here I am every Wednesday in her $1 million house cleaning it. And the first thing that caught my mind, which was so interesting, Josh, was I had thought to be successful, you had to be a jerk. You had to take advantage of people. You had to push people down. You had to be me first oriented. Josh, she was so the opposite. It wasn't even funny. Approachable, kind. I was in every Wednesday. She always said hi to me. Even if I was looking down at the floor, buffing the floor, she said hi to me first. I mean, very nice and approachable. And I couldn't count how many zeros she was worth on my fingers and toes, right?
Right.
So one day she was in an extra good mood. And I thought, man, this is my chance. I'm going to go talk to June. So, and she knew who I was. I was in there every week, right? And she has maids and butlers and everything else there, but I'm doing a special thing on the floors and clean the pool and the garage, all that. So I went up to her and I said, June, can I ask you a question? She goes, well, sure. I mean, very nice. Always very approachable. And I said, could you tell me about it? And she said, well, what? And I said, well, the whole McDonald's thing. I'm not kidding you, Josh. She put her arm around me, brought me in the kitchen, and the entire day, because I asked her in the morning, the entire day told me the whole McDonald's story. She worked for, and in the movie, that is correct, she worked with Ray when he was a milkshake mixer salesman before he even met the brothers. Wow. Right? So he was with, she told me about that all the way through to the moment we're there. So I'm sitting in the kitchen. She has maids and butlers bringing us food so she can keep telling me the story. And I'm thinking, my God, this is June Martino. And she's telling this snot-nosed 16-year-old kid this whole story. And in the movie, she references decades ago, way before the movie, there's a time in the movie, Josh, you'll probably remember because it's a drama scene, where June goes to Ray and says, we have no money. There's no money in the till. And that prompts Ray to call the brothers. They have an argument. And Ray says, I need more money. I need more percentage. I'm only getting like less than 2%, right? I don't know if you remember that movie, but it was a drama scene, right?
Right.
He told me about that scene decades before and said Ray had made an agreement with her that he had no money, so he wouldn't pay her. There was no money to pay her. And he gave her worthless company stock and agreed to take the phone calls from bill collectors. So I asked her, I said, June, I'm a janitor. I work Friday to Friday. I work paycheck to paycheck. If I don't get paid on Friday, I'm not showing on Saturday.
Right.
I said, why'd you do it? Josh, she sat back in her chair, stared at me, and I could tell she had this incredible look on her face. Like, no, everyone always wanted to know what happened, but no one wanted to know why. So I just asked her, why'd you do it? And she's staring at me for about 5 seconds, and it seemed like an hour. As I could tell, she really was wondering, why did she do it? And when she spoke, it made the hair stand up on the back of my neck. When I asked her, June, why'd you do it? She said, because I believed in Ray. And my first thought, Josh, instantly was, that's it. I need a Ray Kroc. I need someone that can teach me. I'm a son of a milkman, burnt out janitor. I don't even know what I need to know, let alone ask the right questions, but I need a Ray Kroc who can put me under their wing and teach me, and look at how it helped June. And I threw it out there. Ignorantly, I threw it out there and stumbled upon the right question. I just simply said, where's my Ray Kroc? I need to find him. And it wasn't 3 months later, we got a phone call at our office about a guy coming in from Detroit that was opening a diamond store. And he became my mentor, that I was fortunate enough and blessed enough. And what was funny was when the phone call came in the janitorial service, I was not, the boss told me, you know, I mean, it was late at night. I'd already punched out. And he said, and the phone rang, and then he hung up the phone. He said, well, some guy's in from Detroit. He wants to see some carpeting. He's opened a diamond store. And I said, okay, well, what's that got to do with me? He said, well, I need you to go. And I said, I'm not going. Jerry, I already punched out. I'm done. And I already punched out on the time clock. He said, no, I need you to go and show him some carpeting. I said, Jerry, no, I'm not going. Second no, I said, Josh. I said, I don't know anything about carpeting. You know I don't. I just clean places. I clean bowling alleys. That's it. You know, I clean places. He goes, I tell you what, if you go, I'll give you a pick of any Saturday off you want. I said, any Saturday? Because for a janitor, that's a big negotiation chip, because Saturdays we're cleaning when businesses are closed. So I got to share with you, we're very, very, very close at this instance of, you know, me not even going. And I went and I met this gentleman, and little do I know that he became the man that changed the trajectory of my life. So I share with all your listeners, be careful of that moment on the edge of a dime that will change your life forever, and be a giver. And the last thing that my business mentor shared with me that I'll share with all of your listeners was simple. 3 things to say to myself every day that your listeners should learn. And those 3 things very simply are, I will never give up. I will keep rising up. And I will always overcome.
All right. I love it. EA, your website is giversuniversity.com. When someone goes there, what should they click on? How do they engage? What's a great next engagement?
Just simply go to the website. You'll see on each page a place to sign up for the newsletter. As soon as they sign up for that, they put in their first name and email address. That's it. Confirm, because we don't spam, so confirm it's the right email when you get it. And then within minutes, they'll get a download of the 6 arrows that takers shoot at givers. A couple of days later, they're going to get a 2-page checklist of the 25 actual do's, the deeds that they should look for. They should print it off, put it in their pocket. These are the things you should be observing that people do that will help you decide if you should bring them in close or respectfully distance yourself. And that begins our relationship with them. And we are going to invest heavily giving them quality, usable tools.
All right. EA Csolkovits, Givers University. EA, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Josh. And one of the best things your listeners can do is share up my influence with anyone else who they think is being a little takerish, because it is a third party. It may open up their mind a little bit, and they'll be stomping out one less fire. And Josh, thank you for having such a great podcast.
You bet.